Hey, Ryan here, and here's exactly how I would lose 30 pounds on a plant-based diet if I had to start all over again tomorrow. And firstly, there'd be no ridiculous detoxes, stupid juice fasts, only eating one meal a day, potato-only diet, raw vegan. No. Instead, I'd be following a very specific step-by-step plan that actually felt realistic and sustainable to me. Why? Because 30 pounds, that's no joke, right? That's such an amount of weight. It's not 5 to 6 pounds that we can just blitz off and suppress some hunger for a couple of weeks and get it off very quickly. No, I really would take my time with this. I would understand the importance of consistency and doing something that actually felt sustainable and real world to me personally. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that 5 pounds. The backlash is going to come and I'm rebounding right back to square one. We've all done this, right? So if all of that resonates with you, if you're happy with slow and steady wins the race, these are my 15 steps that I would follow with this amazing plant-based approach to nutrition. Let's do it. Step number 1, I'd make sure I was eating from the 6 main plant food groups to get a diverse range of nutrients. Of course, these include legumes such as beans, peas and lentils, tubers, white potato, sweet potato, yams, whole grains such as brown rice, quinoa, oats and so on. What else? Vegetables, don't need to name examples of those. Fruits, of course, and then I'm lumping number 6, nuts and seeds in one category together. Now, I wouldn't necessarily eat the same quantities from all of these food groups, and I wouldn't necessarily build them all into one meal because that could be far too complex and elaborate. And I will get into how I sort these plant food groups out a little bit later, but generally, I want to be checking over the course of a couple of days, have I had a decent range of all of these plant food groups? That would be the little checklist in my mind. Step 2, I'd then use those food groups to start building high volume meals where fiber is the primary anchor. Fiber, incredible for keeping you fuller for longer. You can imagine this as an advantage from a weight loss perspective, but fiber has a litany of other health benefits as well. Everyone's obsessed with protein nowadays. I walk around the grocery store and I see protein labels slapped on cereal, protein bars, protein chips, protein this. We'll have protein fruit. We'll have protein water one day, won't we? Well, that's just protein shake, I guess. But fiber, I don't want to get in this habit of saying one nutrient is more important to the other than the other when they all bring different things to the party. But fiber is not talked about nearly enough. It's incredible from a weight loss perspective. So luckily, many plant foods are naturally rich in fiber anyway, so you don't have to do too much mental juggling around this. But I'd be thinking primarily of things like oats, beans, big one, lentils, vegetables, fruits. Certainly, there are some fruits that are so high water content they don't have that much fiber. So I would say, the aforementioned. Step 3, ironically, I wouldn't actually base too much of my plate around fruits and vegetables, which sounds funny to say after the points about fiber and just common sense advice about fruits and vegetables being incredible for us. What this does, when you base a lot of your plate on fruits and vegetables, it automatically sort of calorie caps. Now, of course, elephant in the room, what's going on the rest of the plate? Right, you could put a couple of burgers there and buttered, but fried in butter, and then the calories go like this, right? Obviously. But the more fruits and veggies you're eating, the less room this leaves elsewhere. What does this do? This drives the calories very, very low. And again, you might be thinking, right, mate, right, what are you talking about? This sounds fantastic from a weight loss perspective. Eat lots of fruits and veggies, the calories will be really low. You'll be starving, you'll be crashing and burning 2 hours after a meal. And this is where our starchy friends, such as the potatoes, the whole grains, the beans, most of your meals shall be bulked out with lots of these foods. Not everyone. Sometimes I eat like very vegetable, very fruit-focused meals. If you're doing a nice salad, it's inherently probably going to contain more vegetables than other things. But generally, more veg, more fruit you eat, lower you drive your calorie density. This can actually be a risk from a weight loss perspective. If you drag the calories too low, the crash and burn comes. Step 4, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself here, but no, two things can be simultaneously true. You can use too much fruit and veg, and you could use too little fruit and veg. So then we want to support those starchy items I've just listed with low-calorie, high-volume filler foods. I love this idea. I've got little rules such as I always do minimum 2 cups of vegetables with lunch and dinner. I always, no matter what, unless I'm traveling, do maybe 1 cup of low-calorie fruit such as berries or melon with my breakfast. This is a great way to bulk up your starchy base with all of this volume. We spoke about fiber a few steps ago as well. So you promote all this fullness, all this satiation, this sort of perception of, wow, I get to eat this amazing generous portion while I'm still losing weight. It feels like such a cheat code to weight loss. And I think these low calorie density, high volume filler foods are a really great example of this. I mentioned berries, melon, in particular the non-starchy veg. It's not to say other veg won't do this, but non-starchy veg is really good for this. Think things like cucumber, zucchini, broccoli, dark leafy greens, great for bulking up meals without adding that many calories. Step 5, I would not overcomplicate with any weird eating schedules. I could kind of take the view of whatever floats your boat on this. For some people, maybe intermittent fasting is quite an enjoyable way to eat. Some people, they like to have more snacks in a day and smaller meals. Fair enough. You've really generally got to do what promotes the best diet adherence within yourself based on your experience and insights, of course. But honestly, don't feel under any obligation, is what I wish to say, to do some, oh, this is the magic secret formula, because it is just calories in, calories out at the end of the day. So if you get to the end of the day and you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight regardless of your meal scheduling. There is a tiny nuance underneath that, but generally speaking, that's how this works. So just stick to tried, tested, and true. To be honest, for me, that's going to be 3 big meals per day. They are these big predictable meals at pretty set meal times throughout the day. It's the best for managing my appetite, best for managing cravings. If I suddenly get hungry, I know, but hold on, lunch is within an hour, and I can talk myself down off the ledge because of that, rather than this wacky eating schedule or no eating schedule at all, and you're kind of just hitting and hoping every single day. So I like 3 meals and capping myself at 2 snacks per day. Step number 6, speaking of the old snacks, as a rule of thumb, I would try to keep them under 150 calories, and I'd be avoiding, again, no magic number, it depends if you finish in a calorie deficit or not, but for me, 150 works really nicely to where it's a top up between meals, but I'm not risking adding 200-300 calories between meals throughout the day and just stacking up the total calories by the end of the day. And I'd be avoiding making special effort, and I say special effort because some of these are quite tempting, but to avoid those easy to graze, high calorie snacks that are still healthy, but things like cashew nuts, huge weakness for me. I don't have it really with any other nuts, maybe pistachios, but like walnuts, Brazil nuts, if there's a bag in front of me, I can gladly eat 2 or 3 of those and put the bag away, no problem. But cashews, insatiable to me, pistachios, things like medjool dates, I don't have the same problem with like the smaller pitted dates, but a good medjool date, it's delicious, it's so Moorish to me. Things like Lara bars, because again, you're looking at maybe 200, 220 calories. I just like, as a rule of thumb, stuff that's under 150 calories. We're talking about things like a small to medium piece of fresh fruit, maybe some rice cakes with a light smearing of hummus. What else? Some air pop popcorn, but you're not lathering on the oil and the butter to stack the calories. Just making sensible low-calorie snack choices, basically. Step number 7, beverages, water, herbal tea, black coffee. That'll do the trick for me. I don't need much else. I don't need like special flavors for my beverages. And just as a rule of thumb, like, I'm not so anti-liquid calories that I don't like smoothies and juices, because I do. Like, they're a massive part of my program. I love the berry protein smoothie and Slim and Sustain, but I just think that chew factor for a lot of folks, me included, it does increase perceived satisfaction. It really, really does. So generally speaking, I'm going to avoid, for the most part, liquid calories. If I have liquid calories, I'm still going to treat it in my mind like a meal. It still counts. It's not a free beverage. If I go to Starbucks for one of those OT, frappe, latte, mochaccino, chococcino, chacachino, latte things, I'm going to appreciate that's probably 160 calories, and I'm going to count it as a snack for the day rather than just, again, stacking the calories. You get my point on that. But beverages aren't complicated. Yeah, I'm a bit naughty, so I'm transparent about this. A Coke Zero every now and again to suppress a sweet craving, I'd use it. It's not health advice, but just being transparent, this would be my game plan. Step number 8, what would I do if I've eaten my 2 snacks for the day, if I've had my beverages, if I had my 3 main meals, and I'm still a little bit hungry? Hunger is part of the game when it comes to losing weight. When you're intentionally putting yourself in that calorie deficit, there's always going to be a risk of a little bit of hunger. Of course, you shouldn't be experiencing so much hunger because you're following a really aggressive deficit that the crash and burn comes, and then you're setting yourself up for some crazy binge and to fail. But a little bit of hunger is natural, is what I'm trying to say here. What do? I get to the end of the day, dinner didn't really entirely hit the spot. What am I going to do? I'm going to stick with the safe bets. The more I can't say risk-free, but the lower risk options in terms of calorie density. I'm going to go to the fridge, I'm going to take a cucumber, I'm going to chop it up into pieces, and I'm going to sprinkle on, stick with me on this, just trust me, a little bit of ground cinnamon, and I'm going to have that as a lovely snack in the evening. Or I'm going to get some nice cool cherry tomatoes from the fridge, a cup or so of those, and just slowly munch on them and take my time with them and appreciate the high vibration, I'm not really that guy, but appreciate the taste of each cherry tomato there. Or maybe I've done this many, many times, and people will look at you quite weirdly for this, so I think it's totally normal. It's normal to me anyway. They're the weirdos, not me. I take a red bell pepper and just wash it and just start munching it. Even with the bits inside, I don't mind, just pick around, and I just eat a red bell pepper. And that way you're adding maybe like 30, 40, maximum 60 calories to your diet, instead of some, like, going for the ice cream at night, or even going for something healthy, like we talked about the cashew nuts. peanuts, or even just a piece of fruit, but that's going to be more like 100, 120 calories. We start with the low-calorie veg just as a little top-up. Step number 9. I held up 10 fingers, but step number 9. This is one for the busy folks, the out-and-about folks. I would source 3, and there's no magic number, but 3 emergency food options in your city for when you get caught out the house and you're really in a pinch and you know you might not be able to get home without hunger building so much that you're unlikely to say no to the chocolate, that you're unlikely to go to Taco Bell, that you have some level of agency and still self-trust and self-control around food before you get to that crazy hunger weak spot. I like things like vegetable sushi. There's a place here where I can get a nice poke bowl, but I just have to ask for the dressing on the side. That's a little side tip there because it's quite a rich dressing. Or there's a place that does a nice vegan sandwich here, which isn't too bad. It's a little bit pesto-y, oily, but it isn't too bad in the grand scheme of meals out. A healthy salad bar. There's a buffet place here, like a salad-y buffet here, that's amazing, that even has things like tofu and beans, etc., etc. So I can just put together a really nice calorie-controlled salad. So as far as meals out go, these are really good options. Nothing is like cooking at home where you have maximum control, but if you have these healthier options anyway, out and about, dotted around in your city, you know that you can get caught out and still have something in an emergency scenario rather than turning to some 1,000-calorie meal that you just absolutely do not need and feel terribly guilty after. Step number 10, the real step number 10. We've exclusively talked about food so far. What about exercise? Exercise really isn't touched enough in the plant-based space, I think, and that's because, I suppose, in the plant-based space, we're so often talking about nutrition. But, and rightly so, to a degree, exercise still counts. Obviously it counts. It's really, really important for your physical and mental health and well-being. Obviously, from a weight loss perspective, if you can control the calories going in one end and burn a few more calories on the other end, that's obviously going to be an advantage from a fat loss perspective. So the activity baseline that I would start with is just walking daily. That would be my only target. I wouldn't even care about step count at first. If I was quite a sedentary person, it'd just be enough for me to walk daily. And some days maybe I'm walking 3 kilometers and some days I'm walking 10 kilometers, but that's fine because goal number 1 is walk daily. Later on, I would move to a more particular step range or a step target. For me, 8 to 12k, I appreciate it's a decent range, but that's really doable for me with a European city lifestyle. That's really, really easy for me. And it's a good range because the amount of calories you burn between 8 and 12, obviously if I did 20, that would be even better, but it's realistic. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's realistic for me. I don't get too fatigued, too shattered, too hungry when I do 8 to 12k steps. It really just fits into all the other healthy eating practices very, very nicely. Step number 11, what about other stuff, cardio, sport, lifting some weights, etc., etc. If you want to do all those things on top of your daily steps, that's fine. But my mentality would be, well, it's daily steps first. That's the fitness foundation. Everything else is a cherry on the cake. It's just not really mandatory. People text me all the time on Instagram and say, do I need to start, because they see me lifting weights sometimes, and they're like, do I need to start doing this? Like, what are your strength tips for beginners? And, I'll answer those questions. But at the same time, I'm like, look, guys, if your food isn't on point, if you're not even doing the daily steps, if you're not even getting some results right now, don't worry too much about, should I start with bicep curls, with dumbbells, or with the machine? Should I be doing squats or lunges? Which one is best for quad development? Like, it's kind of, there are still important questions, and you can come to those things. There are important questions in their own right, but honestly, calorie deficit is mostly achieved. We know this through healthy eating practices, so focus on that first. Do your daily steps to support it. Anything else is a cherry on the cake. By all means, do those other things. Play your tennis at the weekend. Do a bit of martial arts. Do an extra cardio. Lift some weights a couple of times per week. Brilliant. But really, the bulk of your calorie burn is still going to come from walking as well. And step number 12, back to the food now. I say yes to healthy fats daily. I would allocate approximately 250 to 300 of my daily calories to spend, let's say, on those overt fat-rich plant foods. What do I mean by overt? Avocado, nut seeds, no added oil, nut butter, what else? Tahini. Not counting tofu in this group. Tofu is kind of fatty, certainly compared to its bean counterparts. It's more than trace fats, but I'm talking about the really fat-rich plant foods anyway. I don't count oil. I don't cook at home with oil. If I eat out, I know it's got oil on, but I don't like oil at home. It's a calorie bomb, not to mention association with the inflammation, cholesterol, etc., etc. Step 13, soy is fine unless you're allergic. Obviously, that should go without saying, but soy is brilliant, can still be fantastic for weight loss. Remember, soy is just a bean, soy bean. So obviously, its derivatives, that just because it's from bean, that doesn't make its derivatives healthy necessarily. But just to like break this down so it's not some big weird, some people think, oh, it's a really processed thing. Soybean is what we're talking about here. And tofu being just fermented soy milk. So tofu I love, and it absolutely can still be part of a weight loss friendly diet. I spoke a second ago about how it's a little bit more fat rich than its bean counterparts, but you can still build really calorie controlled meals with tofu anyway. I love it. I eat tofu daily, sometimes twice daily, so big fan. Tempeh, though, is what I wanted to speak very briefly on here. I'm so hot and cold with tempeh, I'm so on off it, but really, actually, most of the time, when I want to lose some body fat, I'm avoiding tempeh, to be honest with you guys, because, yeah, protein, other nutrients is amazing. Taste-wise, some people don't like tempeh. I do really like tempeh, so actually, it checks other boxes for me. It's just so calorie dense. Like, the amount of tempeh you can use versus tofu, it's like 30 to 40% less in terms of volume that you have to use with tempeh to get the calories to match up with tofu. So for me, I mostly avoid it from a weight loss perspective because it's very calorie dense. But generally, main point here, soy is fine, absolutely can be part of a healthy and weight loss encouraging diet. And if I wanted to lose 30 pounds tomorrow, I'm eating tofu every day. The penultimate one, step 14, how do you know all of this is working? Everything we talked about today, how do I know that I'm making chunks, I'm making inroads to getting rid of this 30 pounds? Well, I'm gonna weigh myself 3 times per week, and I'm going to take, this is important, I'm gonna take the average. I'm gonna take the average of those 3 weigh-ins, add them up, divide by 3. I'm gonna compare that to the previous week's average. That's how I'm gonna gauge my progress. I'm not gonna look at individual day-to-day changes and panic about those or go out of my mind, because I understand there's fluctuations there. What the weight tomorrow morning, the weight I wake up tomorrow morning is not necessarily an indication on how I ate, how I moved my body the previous day. It doesn't necessarily show how much of fat I've lost in only a 24-hour period, because that's such a small amount compared to your overall body weight and all the fluctuations that your body weight can experience. So I'm going to understand all of that. I'm just going to compare the averages and not overreact or get discouraged. One of the keys as well is like just stoicism. You don't get too elated or happy when you have good weigh-ins, and you don't get too sad and depressed and discouraged when you have a really bad perceivably get weigh-ins. You just go on those average numbers, and we're looking, when we compare the averages, to a rough 1 to 2, maybe 2.5 pounds per week loss to signal healthy, sustainable weight loss is happening. There are some exceptions, like if you're starting over maybe 250, 260 pounds, it's going to come right off you much faster than 1 to 2 pounds per week while simultaneously still being healthy. So there's not a rule of thumb, but generally for most people that watch my channel, 1 to 2 pounds per week is 2.5 pounds per week is about the healthy range. Do not react to those individual weigh-ins. They are not the alarm bell that many people think they are. And lastly, step number 15, the big one, my big sustainability rule. You've heard my other 13, 14 steps here today. The moment that any of these were promoting a plan that felt too harsh, too restrictive, too severe, and I appreciate that's subjective, and maybe I'm just using things as an excuse, but if I was being honest and thinking, no, this is really extreme now, this is harsh, I'm suppressing too much hunger, I'm having cravings all the time, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I'm gonna ease off the gas slightly. I'm not talking about a diet break, which I see sadly many folks using as an excuse to just give up and binge and go back to chocolate and old habits. No, don't do that. We don't have diet breaks, but maybe it's just a sign I need to increase my calories by 100. I'll have that extra piece of fruit. I'll have a little bit more rice at lunch and just see if that holds me over nicely. Maybe I'll chill out with all of these fitness classes I'm doing and just take the foot off the gas basically and just slow things down. And there's this whole cliche mantra about slow and steady wins the race that you've heard me talk about before. That's fine. I don't want to burn out. I've got 30 pounds to lose, right? I don't want to go too hard at this. Yeah, I might lose 5 pounds in the first week and feel really awesome about myself and think, oh, this is going to be on in 6 weeks then if I lose 5 pounds in a single week every week. But really, I want to think, no, longevity, sustainability. We don't want to burn out, basically. And that's it. Those are my 15 steps. Remember, the folks that are consistently losing that healthy 4 to 8, maybe at the upper limit, 10 pounds per month, and actually then keeping the weight off, that's important too. The folks doing this, they're following a proper routine. They're not just eating plants, just eating whole foods, like hit and hope, crossing their little fingies and toesies and hoping for the best. Anyone can add more healthy plant foods to this diet, and that's how many people get started with this lifestyle, and that's a good thing. They're just adding more whole plant foods into the diet. Brilliant. But after a while, that just doesn't guarantee weight loss, and it certainly doesn't guarantee that you actually stick to weight loss consistently. So if you do need some help with this, if you want me to build your whole meal plan for you so you know exactly what and how much to eat, you can turn off your brain and just relax into the process and most importantly, actually keep you accountable. I'll be there to keep you accountable every step of the way to make sure you don't drift, or when you have the plateaus and the cravings, that we actually calmly and sensibly troubleshoot them. We give you that little pick-me-up, help you refocus when you need it, and stay the course. And lose that, again, really consistent, sustainable 4, 6, 8 to 10 pounds every single month. I only take on a small number of clients each week because Slim and Sustain is really highly personalized. I work with each client one-on-one. There's no outsourcing stuff. We don't do any of that group coaching nonsense. Can't stand that. I'm a control freak. I work with all of my clients one-on-one, and I want them to feel really closely and constantly supported. So it's highly personalized. We have 3 spots every single week subsequently. If you want to learn more, register your interest to learn more about my next coaching start date. I'll put the link below to go and fill out your info there. See you in the next video. Thanks for your time.